Before we get into the whole week 15 recap, just want to acknowledge that we're not actually in the RV right now.
Can you tell?
We are currently visiting family and they're letting us stay in their guest bedroom. So very gracious, very grateful for them. And week 15 started out with our first full week in Glacier National Park.
And we actually went into the park. I know that sounds silly, but if you saw our previous video, you saw that it was 45 minutes away from where we were initially staying. And so we didn't really have time to go do that with the work week. So we finally went into the park on Sunday. Yippee.
And on Sunday, we drove going to the Sun Road, which is Glacier's biggest attraction. It's the top thing to do in Montana, I think, actually.
Probably.
So and it's about 60 miles one way. I think the park ranger said it'll take you about an hour and a half, 2 hours, probably closer to 2 hours with traffic and everything like that. And in the summer months, actually, you need, or whenever it opens, I think it opens midsummer because there's still snow on it, to when we went in September, you need a pass. You just need to go online, buy a pass, and usually they are sold out. And we didn't know this, so we just checked the night before, and there was one left.
So we got the last pass on the last day that you need a pass for going to the Sun Road for the year of 2024. So we're pretty
subtle flex, it's whatever. And the pass is only a couple bucks, so if you're looking to do it, it's very cheap, very affordable.
So we actually got to drive going to Sun Road, like we were saying, and that's basically, like you mentioned, where all of the various things to see are. There's other sections of Glacier, but you have to leave the park and enter in a different way to go to them. So going to the Sun Road is basically the thing to do in Glacier, and we were excited to do it. So it's quite long, like you mentioned. You basically have to spend hours if you want to stop at every single stop along the way. So we did some of them on this first entry and then more of them later. So
we probably did most of them that you drive by in the first, before you get to the top part. We did most of those because we went in pretty early, so there wasn't a ton of people. There was definitely people around, but it wasn't overcrowded yet.
Yeah.
And then as the day went on, we struggled to find parking spots, and there was traffic. So we kind of wanted to just get to the end, stretch out and everything, which we did. We made it to St. Mary's, which is the town on the other side of going to the Sun Road. It's the less popular side because I don't think there's anything around that area.
There's nothing there.
It's one hotel and a convenience store.
Yeah,
so
it was pretty quiet. But on the way, we stopped at McDonald Falls, which was really lovely. You can kind of rock scramble down in there, which was cool. And then we stopped at Red Rock, which we weren't really expecting to, you didn't really hear that much about it. And then it was really beautiful. It's actually, we think the rock is more purple than it is red in that location. Yeah. So again, just spent some time down by the river there, which was cool. And then kept on our way.
And in case you're curious, all of the water in Glacier National Park is freezing.
And it's that color blue.
It's bright blue. Our pictures,
so blue.
Pictures and videos probably won't do it justice. It was bright blue, and it was freezing cold. So it's all glacier fed, so it makes sense.
We're pretty used to the freezing cold water at this point. The Tetons was exactly like that.
Yeah.
But apparently it's that color blue because the glaciers have basically been grinding down the mountains over time. And so it's all of the rock dust that's filtering through all the rivers and the streams and the waterfalls, etc., making it down to the basins or to the lakes, and it's just turning it blue. So it's pretty cool. I mean, that's something we haven't seen other places.
And driving, going to the Sun Road, we kind of touched on, the park ranger said you should game plan 2 hours one way.
Yeah.
And so we drove it 2 hours out, 2 hours back with a couple stops. I mean, we were probably driving on this road for 6 to 8 hours.
Right, with including the stops themselves.
And so that was what we did all day. That was pretty much it. And then Monday, we decided that we needed to get some work done because it was Monday. And so we did work, and then we were staying this first spot in Glacier. We were staying more in the town that's a half hour, 45 minutes away from Glacier National Park.
Right.
So we wanted to use some of the resources there. We really enjoyed disc golfing.
And we haven't done anything normal in a while. So it was nice to do something that we loved doing before we started RVing. So we had a great time. It was chill. We just straight up went disc golfing.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was a nice park. It was a nice break from hiking and driving, because there's a lot of driving the previous day.
We know we sound woe is us. We went hiking and driving, but it is just nice to have some normalcy.
And then on Tuesday, we kind of continued that normalcy trend going forward because we had to leave the harvest house that we were staying at. It was a very nice harvest house, by the way. I think it was Travelers Restful Haven or something like that. Very cool spot. And when we left, we decided that we needed to do a lot of the laundry. We needed to dump our dump tanks, fill it with water.
Some casual RV maintenance.
Which usually we haven't had too much issues with. We didn't have issues this time. It was just more out of the way than we've had in the past.
Right.
It's we had to stop at a gas station that was 5-10 minutes off track.
The
Then
laundromat was like really expensive, so we were trying to
So
decide whether or not to go
expensive.
there or somewhere else. We ended up staying there because that was really just the best option. But anyway, it like, I mean, like weeks and weeks of laundry are piling up, especially because we're both doing athletic things. So extra laundry,
mhm.
it took a while. It was like an all day affair. It was like doing laundry, filling up, dumping,
Yeah.
driving, because it was like an hour or so of a drive from where we were staying to where we were going.
Which that hour drive isn't terrible.
No.
But I mean, we had to drive like half hour out here, do the dump station, do the laundry, which took like 2 hours in itself, and then drive like 45 minutes to our campground, figure out what it is, get
And I'm
set
like
up.
finishing the laundry, and he's like parked behind a Pizza Hut. Like, I hope they don't come out and make us leave or something.
Mhm.
It was kind of ridiculous.
It was one of those days in RV life that no one really talks about when they talk about RVing.
Yeah.
But you just have to do it. Like, it wasn't like anything was hard. It was just one of those days where all like the maintenance and daily chores stack up and it just becomes
Yeah.
a full day event. Which is a bummer because we were going to Glacier National Park. We're hoping maybe we could get in, but that just didn't happen, which was okay.
Yeah, so that was literally all of Tuesday. So on Wednesday, we're like back into the park. We're now staying 10 minutes away at this really nice HipCamp, which we've never heard of HipCamps, but if you're familiar, it's like kind of like an Airbnb meets RV park sort of deal.
Apparently the owner has like a lot of land
Yeah.
and they just basically have like legitimate, it's like a more legitimate harvest host that can host like, I think this one had 20 spots.
It was really fun. It was like 10 minutes from the gate, so that was super nice. So it's Wednesday. We're right around the corner from the gate now. We went to do the Avalanche Lake Trail, which is one of the most popular ones in Glacier. So there was definitely people on it, but we were going in the evening, classic us, so it actually wasn't like ridiculously crowded.
Yeah, just a heads up, if you do go, Glacier is apparently the most traveled to national park out of all of the national parks.
Which we are startled by. Okay, would anyone else think it's Yellowstone? Because we were like, it's got to be Yellowstone. Apparently it's Glacier now, so it's been ousted.
But you definitely see that with the crowds. Like in
Yes.
Yellowstone, there was crowds everywhere, but there weren't too many spots where it was like overflowing with people. Glacier, we definitely saw that.
And Yellowstone is big enough where it can actually like, it can handle the traffic, it can handle the parking. Glacier is not large, so it cannot really handle either. I mean, ergo the fact that it was having passes throughout the whole rest of the year, which had since stopped by the time we were going to Avalanche Lake.
Yeah, and so when we got to the Avalanche Lake trail spot, it was like we were in the evening. We got there like probably 5 or 6 o'clock. So most people are leaving, so we had no issues finding a parking spot.
Yeah.
But when we drove by later on in the week, it was people were like parked like half a mile down the road if they could, and like walking to these trails. So just keep that in mind. Go early or go late.
It was a lovely trail. It's relatively easy. It starts out with this really beautiful gorge that's actually kind of hard to describe, and our pictures in no way do it justice.
Mm-hmm.
So we loved that. It's like a 3 to 4 mile hike, so I would say it's something most people could do.
3 to 4 miles one way.
It was really pretty. You end up at this beautiful glacial lake at the end, which again, color of his sweatshirt, very, very blue, quite large. And there's a number of waterfalls that are feeding into it. So we walked all the way to the end of the lake, which is kind of an optional addition. And really enjoyed that hike.
Which if you can do it, definitely walk to the other end, because the first is, it's not like a beach, it's like a pebble beach, and you get to it and it's really cool view, really awesome, but that's where everyone stops. That's where like 90% of people are
at the beginning, you're saying?
Yeah, at the beginning. So which it is definitely worth stopping there and getting a picture or two. But if you walk around to the other side of the lake, it's like a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile walk, all flat. You get that exact same view but from the other direction. And there, I mean, Glacier, there's mountains everywhere, so like you still get
You're
the
kind
mountains.
of in a bowl there.
Yeah, and there was like maybe 5 people there, and it was super peaceful, and it was huge, and it was a really cool spot. So definitely, if you're able to walk to the other side of the lake, it's definitely worth it.
So for Thursday, again, we just had to do actual work. Believe it or not, we do work sometimes. So Thursday was really quiet, honestly. But Friday, we started to do another hike, which was the Johns Lake Loop Trail.
And like we said earlier, we're working during the day, so we usually go later in the afternoon. This one, we went later than we were kind of planning on it. And it's like a 3-mile loop.
Yeah. So it's not terribly long, at least.
No,
but
it's pretty flat.
This is the densest forest that we've been in to this point. And so we like intentionally planned it out in the hopes that we would be finished by the time the sun was setting, which we kind of were close to, actually.
Yeah.
The problem is like it is like Pacific Northwest dense. So I mean there is very little light filtering in through these trees by the time it's getting like the sun is starting to set. Yeah. It was dark. And
the sun was setting
by the end. At the beginning it was nice.
The sun every night at this point was like setting between 7:30 and 8, which we were like, okay, 3-mile hike, take us hour and a half.
And it's very easy, so.
It's very easy. And it did. And it was a very cool hike. You walk around some of the rivers and get some cool views. And probably the only hike we had where you're actually walking through the really dense forest.
Yeah.
Which was unique in itself. I mean, it's like.
It was beautiful.
It was like what you see in like movies or like Bigfoot theories where.
Think like Twilight level dense.
Yeah.
Like, it's dense.
Which was really cool. However, as soon as the sun went behind the mountains, which was earlier than the sunset was,
right,
it got dark.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't like dark you couldn't see, but it was an uncomfortable dark for how much vegetation there was.
Yeah. And
So
we were like, bears? Which we didn't see. But
thankfully.
It was a little bit sus at the end. But it's okay because it was really beautiful. We got to see McDonald Falls from the other side again. We also saw the Sacred Dancing Cascade, which is like another section of falls as well. So that was really cool.
We saw a cool lake at the end, and I tried to get a really scenic, awesome picture.
And he fell in.
But to get out to it, you had to like kind of walk on this log. I got out there, got the picture, and I spun around to get it, and my foot fell in the
And
mud.
I almost caught it on video, and I didn't, which was so sad.
So now you don't get to see that video. Oh no.
But it was really funny.
Swampy pond.
Taking this video in case you fall again.
Wow. I fell in the water. Now I'm rinsing my shoe off, and Haley's like, I'm going to take a video for when you fall in again.
I don't want you to fall in again. I'm just saying I wish I'd caught the first one on video.
I don't. It was not enjoyable. I don't want to relive that.
Yeah, but it was funny.
And then on Saturday, we woke up with big plans. There are a couple of really iconic big hikes in Glacier.
Right.
And I think the most popular is probably the Grinnell Glacier hike because it's the biggest glacier that you can hike to in Glacier National Park.
It's like a hike just to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of imagine Glacier as like a funny shaped oval, and going to the Sun Road cuts almost right across from it. You have to go all the way across, exit the park, go up, and then go back in to get to this area. So
it was like a
trek. I think it was a 2-hour drive or
from
more.
our campsite.
Yeah.
Still a beautiful drive to make, but it was also a bummer because we had a destination to go to.
Yeah.
And some people were driving the road as more of a scenic view.
Right.
So they were going slower than we were, and we wanted to get there early because it's
a
so
long
far
hike.
out.
Yeah.
It's a long hike, and the parking lot fills up really quick.
Yeah.
So we were hoping to get there by like 7:30. Ended up getting there around 8, and we did find a parking spot.
Miraculously
luckily.
found a spot, but I mean, it was packed. And we like had tried to plan for this when we brought like multiple layers and all this stuff, and then we pull up and people are in like puffy coats, like
Winter
thick
hats.
leggings, winter hats, and we're like, and yet again, the Hoopers have not appropriately planned. We like attempted planning. We even brought sandwiches. If you've seen our previous videos, normally we walk long hikes. We bring snacks, but not real food. We like made sandwiches. We attempted and still fell slightly short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were, like I said, we were planning for the winter, colder weather, which on the one side where we were, it was like in the 50s.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, perfect. Like 50s, like a sweatshirt, maybe 2 if it gets windy.
Yeah.
Pants, like, you know, you bring layers. And then we pull up and people were like prepared to hike a winter mountain. And we were not.
Yes.
And that was very clear within the first little bit. It said they had puffy jackets, waterproof covers on their bags and everything, which might have been a little overkill, honestly, but ours might have been a little not enough because it did start raining. We had 2 sweatshirts.
Yeah.
And we used them both.
It drizzled off and on our hike, but really only on the way down. But it was beautiful. You end up passing 3 different lakes, Swift Current, Josephine, and Grinnell. Yeah. On the way up. So you're passing these gorgeous, like, again, glacial lakes as you hike up. It wasn't that bad. It sounds like it's going to be really steep, but honestly, it's literally just like the last half mile is kind of uphill. Everything else was pretty gradual. We felt like it was something that we were comfortable doing.
I would say the first 2 miles was pretty flat. Like you're kind of walking from one lake to the next lake. There's a boat launch or a boat dock that actually takes you across one of the lakes if you want to.
Actually, the first
shortcut
2, apparently. So you can shortcut it if that's something you want and you just want to hit up the back section and see the glacier itself.
But that last section, and then, so it was about 6-7 miles to get out there and 6-7 to get back. So the first 2 are pretty flat. The next like 3, they're all uphill, but it's not a steep uphill. It's like if you were to walk up like a hill on the sidewalk, like that steepness for majority of it. I mean, there was people all ages, shapes, sizes doing it, so it's definitely doable. And then the last half mile to a quarter mile, that is like steep. Like that's an intense climb.
But on our way up, Cooper suffered a tragedy.
I lost my adventure hat, which was just, honestly, the hat wasn't anything special. It was a hat I got from like Walmart like 2 years ago for like $15, but it was what me and the hat went through. We went to Peru. We did all of these crazy things in it, and we were walking, and a big gust of wind came and just blew it right off and down the mountain.
Like onto this cliffside too far beneath us. He was like, I could reach it. And I was like, absolutely not. Are you going down there? So he was not allowed to go down, and he did not, which was smart because it was kind of sketchy.
This is a very sad time in my life. The hat I have been traveling with for the past like 2 or 3 years just fell off the cliff. And it's rainy and it's on loose rock. So
It's steep.
So I'm not gonna go get it. But I'm really sad about it.
This is his adventure hat.
But it was like a generic hat from like Walmart for $15. So it wasn't like anything that special. But it was special to me.
You took it with you to Peru.
I did. I took it everywhere. But if you want to see a really in detail experience of the entire hike, we made a whole like 10-15 minute video. In my opinion, it's probably one of the better videos we've actually made at this point. So definitely go watch that. I'll link it here. Very entertaining.
Overall, definitely recommend this hike. It's one of the few opportunities you can actually see a glacier that up close, and we walked kind of an extra mile or two to go touch it. So definitely recommend the hike as a whole. But that was pretty much our first full week in Glacier.
So overall, it was really, really awesome. Probably a little more driving than we were anticipating. But not terrible. We'll be here for all of next week, so make sure you stay tuned for that.